Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen, and today I'm going to show you how to make a TikTok cake. And if you see me using any tools or supplies you could use, check the link in the description below, which should help you out. Alright, I'm going to show you a quick little demonstration here on how you can make the TikTok logo for your birthday cake. I'm going to be making it out of gum paste because I am going to be putting this into a cake, and I do want it to be able to freestand later down the line once it's dry. So I suppose you could use fondant as well if you're going to have it flatter against the side of the cake, but this is what I'm doing, so here we go. Alright, I started by simply printing out the TikTok logo in a size that I found to be appropriate. I'm going to make this one, I believe it was a 5x7 size. It's going to go on a 6-inch cake that I have double stacked, so it's actually like two 6-inch cakes stacked on top of each other. And I am simply cutting the whole darn thing out. And I know you can't tell because, of course, I do not have a color printer, but it has 3 different shades of color in it. I'm going to go with the more traditional coloring of the app itself, the logo on the app. So where you see this TikTok is kind of black, the one I'm going to be making is going to be white. I'm also going to include the word, and if you notice, I'm cutting it out very carefully. I'm going to leave the top intact. I'm not going to just snip it all the way through, so I'm cutting through from the bottom, and I'm being real careful to leave the shape of it kind of intact. I would highly recommend doing this to you guys as well. This way you get a actual print, like a mold that you can follow of where the letters go. So it'll clean up any type of hesitation or mistakes you might have on spacing of your letters and where they're going to fit together, you see? So now when I cut them out of the white gum paste I'm rolling out here, it'll just all come back together. You'll see it real soon. Alright, first I'm going to start with my main T part of my TikTok here. You probably have noticed that I've already trimmed off the light and dark shadings. That would be the hot pink and the blue, if you could actually see it in color, if I actually put the money into getting a color printer and didn't stay cheap with my little black and white one that I've got going here. But anyway, I trimmed off those pieces and I put them aside. I'm going to use them, so very carefully. Don't mess them up or, get rid of them. I started by, like I said, cutting out my main piece here. I just simply put it down, trimmed it out, and then I moved it over on top of a paper towel so I can make sure it stays nice and safe while I move it around, because I do kind of slide it around here and there. I kind of move them around a bit, probably more than I should. I'm using the same white again, and now I'm starting with my lettering. I'm using my X-Acto knife. I rolled this out really thin, like pretty darn thin without it being too thin that you can start to see color through it, because white will do that to you sometimes if you're not careful. So I'm just very carefully going through my letters, taking my time, trimming them out. I'm putting them onto the paper towel, as you can see in the lower right there. And then to make sure the letters are sitting properly, I'm putting the cutouts back on top to match them up, because they do get a little distorted here and there. They are a little stretchy and a little soft, so they move. I'm making my O for my TikTok, I'm making my K for my TikTok, and I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. Just keep putting it on the paper towel, put the paper cutout of it back on top, and make sure it all just lines up nice and neat. Okay, I'm moving on to the hot pink parts of the logo now. I'm taking the darker parts, it's the darker part of my lovely black and white printout, and I had carefully cut them out and apart, so I'm just trimming them out as neatly as I can, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water to my main part of my decoration there, and then I'm going to place it back where it belongs. And my actual letters are in the way, so I'm just carefully shoving them out of the way, because you always shove things carefully. Tuck it all in, tuck it all up. If it's a little uneven or anything, I'm going to end up using my knife, my regular old knife, and I'm just using the side of the blade to kind of press it, curve it around. It just smooths it out, makes it nice and neat, it flows a little bit better. And then I'm going to keep on cutting. I've got this piece right here that kind of looks like maybe an apostrophe or something. That's going to go on the end of the TikTok logo, so I'm adding a little bit of water once again, carefully putting it into place, snugging it up there, and you're going to see that the white and the pink are at the same height, so that makes it nice and easy. If you're ever questioning where to match up one of your pink pieces, the pink matches the height of the main decoration. Here's my last little piece. It looks actually like a comma, and that's going to match up there, as you see, right next to the top. And again, The top of the pink matches the top of the white, so it's nice and simple, no problems there. I've got my sickle shaped, I guess, here. I don't know what shape it would be. So yeah, I'm calling it a sickle. My sickle shape here, and that is going to go on the inside of the curl there on the shape. I guess it's a T. So it's going to curve around and then go up on that inside. Once again, the top of the white lines up with the top of the pink. Nice and easy, right? No problem. Use your knife blade, make sure you get it all nice and neat. And the only other thing really that I have to do is add a little bit of the pink and blue to the O in the Tik Tok. So as you see, I used a circle and I just cut out kind of like a little crescent moon shape using it of the pink, and it was a little bit too long, so I just trimmed it off. It's going to be a little bit more freehand, a little rougher, I suppose, than it necessarily should. But that goes onto the right-hand side, and then that's it. So now moving on to the blue. Same thing as you did with the pink, roll it out nice and thin. Try to get it the same thickness as your white. Cut out your shapes as true as you can do, and then add some water to your main piece, and then press it gently into place. And now the blue is a little bit different, where the pink and the white were the same height. The blue and the white end at the same side on the right. So where the blue ends at the top of the logo, it goes over the top toward the right-hand side, but then it stops where the white stops. All right, so it's kind of like the white and the pink meet up, but never quite touch. So that's how you can kind of measure where that needs to go. Here's another little piece of blue, another little crescent for the O, so now that's completed. Another shape that goes onto the main logo, a giant comma in this case. It's going to go on the outside of that curve there on the left-hand side, you'll see in a second, so add some water. Match it up with the edge of the white, because remember, it goes to the right of the white, or where the white stops on the right, that's where it lines up too. So line it up. Use your knife to smooth out any curves, make it hug right up nice and tight. Good. Last little piece there was that other little comma. And now we're moving on. All right, I ended up putting that logo that I just finished onto a black background. It was just a black piece of gum paste I rolled out. I put the logo on top and then just kind of trimmed around it. Basically doing the same thing here with the Tik Tok, except in reverse. I took the black, made it into a nice little rounded off shape, kind of rounded off rectangle that fit the size of the paper there that I'm matching up. And then I'm adding my letters to it. I used the paper, like I said before. I held on to it so I'd know how the spacing of all the letters go, excuse me. And once I know where they go, then I can straighten them out. I'm using my little mixing stick there to make sure they're nice and level and even, and just tweak them a little if you need to. Because despite all my efforts, they did not come out perfectly. I am only human, and yes, therefore I must accept my limitations. It's a very zen moment here for me with cakes. I'm adding a little bit of water to the back of my letters to make them stick. And as you can see also, I put it on a paper towel, so when I move it around, it won't get ruined. Isn't that nice to not ruin your own decorations? So finish putting it together, and then just put it aside, and we're going to get to work on the cake next. I was feeling kind of like trying something different, and so I went to the store and just bought these two cakes. I got two, they're wild berry cakes, I think, and they had some kind of like a wild berry stuff on top and chocolate shavings, like white chocolate shavings on the side, and I struggled to open it, but I did get it open. And I wanted to try to make something else out of it, so I decided I'm going to take these and turn them into a Tik Tok cake. So I first removed these little, I guess they were kind of like a wild berry puree flowers. And then I scraped all of the white chocolate curled shavings things off of the side. And I was thinking I could save them to make a filling, but I tasted them and they tasted kind of sour. I don't know if they had like a lemon curd maybe or something in it, but it just wasn't working. So I just used a fork and I just started scraping. So far, I'm taking these cakes and just taking them apart. I got all the chocolate off, I got those rosettes off, and now I'm taking most of the icing off. It was advertised as like, ooh, made with real cream or something like that. And it was weird. It was funky icing. So I scraped it off and kind of left it down to, say, a crumb coat or like almost a naked cake, that kind of thing, when that fad was still pretty hot and spicy. So I really removed pretty much as much of the icing and everything else that I could. And it turned out those little shavings just got everywhere. So I had to go digging like underneath the lip of the cake. Like, those little things were everywhere. And so, okay, now I've got my one little naked cake. I'm going to do the same thing the other one. I took my other cake, took the little rosettes of pureed berries or whatever it was off, worked and chipped and got all the little chocolate curls off, and now I'm scraping off all that weird icing that's on it. So once I get that all done, I'm going to put them aside and just kind of let them set again. I'm going to cover my cake plate right now. So I've got that silver one right there, and I'm using fondant to cover it. I'm not using gum paste, I'm using fondant. It's just black fondant. Rolled it out nice and thin, laid it over my rolling pin as you saw, and just lay it gently over your cake plate. I'm going to use a pizza cutter to just roll around the outside to trim off the extras so the weight doesn't pull on it or make it a little lopsided or anything when I pick it up. And you see all those little marks? I put Crisco down on my counter when I work with fondant so it doesn't stick. I know a lot of people will use powdered sugar or cornstarch or something like that. I use the Crisco. It works for me. I don't know. It's just what I use. And all those marks are going to dry up and go away. So yeah, you can see like they're already getting better. When you see the cake plate again, you won't see them anymore. You'll just see the new one where I dropped a drop of condensation from my drink on it. But pretend you don't see it. All right, so I'm just using a knife to trim off the extra. I had just used my finger to go between and just kind of press it down around the edges and between the scalloping. Using my knife, trim off the extra, just going kind of level with the bottom and put it aside. It has to set up and harden a little bit. So it will harden a little bit, and I just need that little bit of support first. I took my cakes back out of the fridge, and now I'm kind of crumb coating them. I know that I said I left some of the icing on to kind of make it like a naked cake, kind of like a crumb coating, but now I've made my own buttercream, so I know it tastes the way I like it, and I am going over it and just redoing it. I'm just kind of starting over here. It has its filling that it originally came with. It's got the cake it originally came with, and it has whatever icing I couldn't remove that it originally came with. Now it's got good icing on it. So I layered the side. I did the top. I'm just trying to make it nice and even. I did it to both of them, stuck them in the fridge again, and then I pulled them out. This is why I'm able to manhandle this thing so freely. And I'm sticking it right to the center of my cake plate. You can see now all those marks from the Crisco are gone. I stack up my cakes just like that, and now I'm going to put another layer of icing on it. So basically by the time I'm done with this, it's like, you know, half cake and half icing because there's just a lot of icing on there. I kind of seal up the crack between the two. I have to replaster the sides, redo the top, and then I'm just applying and applying until I feel like there's enough on there that then you can start scraping it away. And I feel like, you know, half of making a cake is like removing most of the icing that you already put on there just to try to get it a little smoother. And if you guys follow me at all in my other videos, you'll know that this is not necessarily my strong point, but I do the best I can. All right, now I have my cake. It's all set up. And you can see I did pink, hot pink, and hot blue rosettes, or no, they're not even rosettes, just kind of curls to decorate the half top of the cake. And I realized that if you look at the front of the cake, all you see is blue. Like the way when I was turning the cake plate, I didn't turn my piping bag with it, so I ended up losing all of the pink color. It was showing toward the back, and all you got was blue. So I scraped them off, lifted them off very carefully. I wanted you guys to see that too, because people make mistakes, and when you do, just fix it, you know? And if you can't fix it, decorate it. And if you can't decorate it or fix it, then put a bigger decoration there. There's always something you can do. So now the colors are all showing. I just put a mark in the center of the cake with my decoration of the Tik Tok logo. And what I have here is some pink and some blue ganache that I made. And I am going to try something. I don't know how well it's going to come out because I put my cake in the fridge and it got really, really cold. So I'm going to try to attempt the drizzle down the front of the cake, but I want to kind of have it cascading down the front. And what I learned, this is my learning experience, so take heed, all ye out there, is that when you pipe your nice, warm, runny ganache onto a really cold cake, it sets up super quick. And then you have like this thick kind of lumpy ganache because it just chills pretty much instantly. So you're going to see my technique on the pink is pretty rough, but this is my attempt. Number one, just pay attention to the blue. It comes out a little bit better, a little bit. I'm sure you guys have more skill though than me on this kind of thing. I don't do ganache like this very often. So I'm having it trail down from where the Tik Tok logo is going to sit and then kind of pool and puddle on the bottom a little bit. Now I figured with the blue, this is where I kind of improved upon my technique. If I do a stripe all the way down, another stripe all the way down, it comes out much more even rather than trying to let gravity do the work and let it run down the side because the cake was too darn cold. So I tried to make my lines as nice and neat as I could, but I've got a bit of a shaky hand. That was my son saying hello over there. So I'm going back over my very chilled ganache with a little piece of wax paper, and I'm trying to use kind of the heat and just the friction of my finger and my hand a little bit to smooth out some of the major lumps. And now I kind of felt like the cake was still a little bit boring. So I'm taking the same bag that I was used before with the same tip. I just have some blue and pink icing mixed together inside the bag. I have actually a bag of pink and a bag of blue that I put together into a third bag. And that's how you get the double color effect. So it's not hard to do. So yeah, I put the little stars around the side just to give it a little more color, kind of finish the look of it. This is my logo. I'm adding the lollipop sticks to the back. You just take a piece of gum paste, get it wet with some water, put your stick on it, and then smush it to the back of your design. Let it sit, let it set. All right, remember we just made this little Tik Tok thing a few minutes ago? There we go. Just putting it right across the front there. I'm using my paddle just to kind of flatten it down because that ganache ain't given. I felt like it was still needing something. It's still a little boring. So I took some black pearls and some white pearls and put them in the big poofs of icing up top. I didn't bother doing it down bottom. Of course, you could do whatever you want. This is just what I did. Make it a little bit more interesting looking. And then when you're ready, stick your logo in. And you got yourself a Tik Tok cake. There you go. That was my attempt. So I hope you found this video helpful. Hopefully you can improve upon it and make yours look even better than mine. Please check out my many other videos. I got a lot out there. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.